This message is for Aries. Aries, the story I'm about to tell you is very important and has everything to do with you. Whether or not you understand how and exactly how, just hear the story and you will either understand or feel it. Aries, you're not here to kill yourself or commit suicide or drug yourself to death or drink yourself to death or start a conflict or a war. Aries, you're here to try to live in peace. If you're going to be able to do it, you're going to need to be aware of some things, and I'm going to help you become aware of them. Uh, okay, so Aries, in 1968, I want you to think about Vietnam. And the Tet Offensive was a culmination of a very bad conflict called the Vietnam War. And the May in May, the May Massacre was a terrible incident, which is not entirely your fault, Aries, and understand that you will want to blame somebody else and you're upset. Spiritually, you're very upset about a lot of things, about being blamed for stuff which you didn't feel like you did. And ultimately, Aries, you weren't even allowed to even be aware of a lot of things which you need to be aware of, and a lot of things you'll not be allowed to be aware of. But the ultimate truth is, Aries, I won't tell you anything you're not allowed to be aware of. I'm only going to be telling you things you're allowed to know and you're allowed to be aware of. Aries, in 1968, and the saying March Madness started. March Madness came from the end of the Aries Collective in the Vietnam War. Now, I want to talk about it a little bit, Aries, to help you understand what's going on with you in your mind and your heart and your soul. Aries, you used to be and are a part of a collective which is masculine only and often immature. It could be often the baby of the zodiac. It's also the ace, which means that you can certainly be dad or the immature baby. But if you are dad, then you will be. Um, if you're the immature baby, then you will be as well. Uh, in Vietnam, Aries, the collective had a purpose until March of 1968, where it literally was destroyed. Now, the basically the reasons for the destroying the Aries collective was because the leader of the collective was killed in March of '68, and I believe he was a helicopter door gunner who was a sons. They called them the sons of the gunner, the sons of the fathers, which were ultimately going back to World War II, leaders, senators' sons, people important in the government and their kids, which were leading some element of a collective Aries, which was more than just you. And it was much more than just you. Uh, and so Aries, you were only a leading element, which was masculine only, and understand that the masculine collective could incorporate feminine into it. And so Aries, as a sign, as Aries, you're not going to have feminine at all. And so the understand that all the other signs, starting with Taurus, Aries, will have both. The two has two. You only have one, which means that Aries, the reason why you're going to be singled out as the bad guy or the bad girl or the problematic problem is because it's just a fact that if you have a collective which is all divine masculine only, it'll often not include the feminine because it's not actually including it. It doesn't have it. And understand that that it'll also be judged and thought to be wrong for the reason that it is what it is. It's not including her, Aries. Your collective does not include her. And understand, Aries, if it did not or does not, well, it will in the future. And so your collective is changing. And entirely, if it's not changing, it'll be aware that an incorporation of the divine feminine will be a must. And if you can't really do it, Aries, we're not going to talk about how you could do it or how you can't do it. Because what I'm going to talk to you about is the importance of the story of the what happened to your collective, Aries, and you were the collect Aries collective was basically destroyed in March of '68 when the door gunner, who was the leading element of the Aries collective, was also a part of a masculine collective, which was incorporating feminine too. And Aries doesn't include feminine, which means that the Aries collective was not leading the entire war, was not responsible for the war. In fact, the Aries collective was only just a part of a tool being used by the masculine collective and feminine collective that were actually responsible for the war, which means Aries is not responsible whatsoever for fight the Vietnam War or the conflict or anything except to say that Aries was used and made to fight that war by the other collectives, which were actually at fault or responsible if anyone is. And we're not going to blame anybody. What we're going to say is Aries is not the one who started Vietnam or wanted to fight it. Aries is the one that was the leading, give me a purpose. If I can't have it in peacetime, then I'll have it in wartime. Aries, you could have a purpose in peacetime. You don't have to have a war to have a purpose, Aries. And understand that what I'm going to be here to help you understand, Aries, is you don't have to have a conflict to have a purpose. If you understand the simple things, information that you will be allowed to have some clue about, Aries. And I won't tell you anything you're not allowed to know, period. So don't